We live in a time where an 18-year-old, instead of deciding to go to college, can build a multi-million-dollar business on YouTube.
But the big thing that they're afraid of is they're like, okay, I'm going to go at it alone because I can do X, Y, and Z and nobody's going to fail me.
If you don't have the energy inside of that time, you won't do anything anyway.
I've always done it and I can do it better than anybody else.
I will have the conversations with the right people and make those chess moves so that my kids have it all.
What is fancy lazy?
Fancy lazy is not about time. Fancy lazy is about energy.
What if I told you that the key to building a dream team isn't about finding the best people, but creating a culture that makes them stay and be so incredibly excited about the vision you are creating? Now, did you also know that the biggest obstacle to success isn't the lack of talent, but a lack of alignment? Now, my guest today has so much experience. She has been the brains behind several incredible brands, and she is a world-renowned brand strategist and has been working with over 2 decades of experience in helping businesses build magnetic brands. Jen Kem specializes in guiding entrepreneurs and leaders to uncover their unique voice, define their positioning, and amplify their influence in the marketplace. She is known for her candid, no-nonsense approach. She has helped big visionaries such as Steve Harvey, the own Oprah Winfrey Network, and she combines the strategic insight with deep understanding of human behavior to help her clients create sustainable success. As a well-sought-after speaker, mentor, and advocate for personal development, Jen's passion is about encouraging others to step boldly into their purpose and leverage their strengths to build impactful, purpose-driven businesses. Her expertise has earned her features in Forbes, Entrepreneur, and top publications, and her newest book, Unicorn Team, which is out now, gives us that insight and more about how to build a team that helps you get into your next chapter, whether it is adding more support in your home as a busy mama, whether it is adding a vertical to your team or a new vision or a new project, what types of people you need to surround yourself with or in your life, and how to actually innovate more in your life, especially after going through a divorce. Jen talks about her experiences of being out of alignment and how to use what she calls unicorn energy to bring back alignment into her life and all of the projects that she creates. And she also reveals a concept that she talks about heavily in the book about the visionaries, the mobilizers, and the strategizers, and which one are you and which do you need to have around you in order to have the most ample effect in everything that you do. This episode is like a masterclass in business strategy and branding, so buckle up, and I think you're gonna really love this episode today. Joining us, my girlfriend and longtime friend, sister, Pinay sister, Jennifer Kem, to the Brave Table this week. Oh my goodness. Jen Kem, my sister.
Yes! So happy to be here.
All right, Queen, you are the queen of building unicorn teams and unicorns yourself. But because just before we started rolling, we were talking about how I've been so blessed to have a unicorn team. But you also know that there have been times where I was asking you for advice. I'm like, how do we build a unicorn team? And I just came up with this. Well, I saw this crazy stat that I wanted to just open up with. Now, there's a report that just came out recently, and I'll link it in the show notes. But the report said, and it was based on a survey of nearly 1,000 hiring managers, found that 1 in 6 employers were reluctant to hire Gen Z workers, mainly due to their reputation for being entitled and easily offended. This is coming from Euronews Now, I know you have been the queen of helping other people build their unicorn teams. What is happening? And let's just start there.
Yeah. So, first of all, I'm like, this was like my favorite thing to look forward to this year. Let's put it that way. And it's we're recording this on New Year, so I just want to say that because what I love about Neeta is she asks the best questions. So why I love this question about Gen Z and like work in general, and this is why I wrote this book first. I could have written a lot of different books, uh, but the one the reason I wrote this book is because now more than ever, we're living in a time where honestly, work is infinite, truly. Like, just 20 years ago, you kind of knew, okay, I'm going to have this career, I'm going to do it, or you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to start a business, or you're going to work for the government. Like, these were kind of your three kind of categories that you thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And now social media and, we live in a time where an 18-year-old, instead of deciding to go to college, can build a multi-million dollar business on YouTube, right? By opening toys or reviewing books or doing stunts, whatever, right?
The list
Whatever,
goes on and on.
whatever
Yeah.
you floats your boat. And because of that, there's this kind of idea that, okay, if young people actually it's not just young people. Now influencers are ageless, really. Like anybody can turn on a mic and a video camera and create content, and that can be their career. That can be the way that they earn income. And so when we talk about younger people, because that is their opportunity, the threat to, in my mind, innovation, okay, is that when you think of things that are innovative, the things that we take for granted, including us being able to have this conversation right here, the cars we drive, um, the access we have to information now, those innovations are not innovative.
Mm.
Humans are innovative. And it took humans to rally together to create these things that we consider now status quo things. And so when we talk about Gen Z, the threat is that they've become so autonomous in their thinking because of what's available, because of innovation, because other humans that came together created this autonomous ability to create your own life, which is great because we ultimately all want to have autonomy. But the trade off is community, meaning
Mm.
the greatest ideas have come together because usually one or two people got together over a kitchen table, inside of a garage, or at a cafe, yapping about this great idea that they have and or a problem they were really frustrated about and wanted to solve. And when younger people are not engaged in that kind of innovative ideation and dialogue, instead, what they're focused on is talking into a camera and creating content to entertain, we lose our biggest advantage as human beings, which is shaping the world. And we are shaping the world now in a way that I think for me personally makes me nervous because of this problem of not understanding that innovation isn't just about technology. Innovation is like getting a better sewage system in evolving countries is an innovation that still needs to be solved. We still need to innovate that. How many countries don't have a working sewer system, which is the core of all disease, frankly? Like when we think about humanity, I like to think about it as like at a bigger level. And I think with Gen Zs, when we don't have them at the table using the gifts that they possess and the access that they possess, and instead of saying, oh gosh, they're lazy, they're entitled, all they want is freedom, they don't have any work ethic, all of these things. Guess what? They actually do, but they have work ethic around the things they think are available to them. And when we say, oh, yeah, corporate is no longer available to you, when we say education is no longer available to you, when we even say government is no longer available to you, what happens? Things collapse, right? And we're at a time in our lives, at the time of this recording, where I feel more than ever this conversation around having a unicorn team and a unicorn team mindset is so critical for innovation to continue. Otherwise, we're going to be put in these boxes.
And I want to double click on that because I feel like you kind of shared so many amazing mic drop moments. And for for our audience, and I know that a lot of us kind of who are business owners and who either desire to have unicorn teams. I know in our institute, we teach people to also, build businesses around their terms. But the big thing that they're afraid of is they're like, okay, I'm going to go at it alone because I can do X, Y, and Z and nobody's going to fail me. But then on the other hand, you have other folks who are in your and my position. Now you're a mama of some Gen Zs. So maybe you have some, other advice. But what is your take on, this the advice for those who are maybe afraid to build that unicorn team because they're thinking, well, I can just do everything on my own because I've always done it and I can do it better than anybody else, and that's just what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. So this is such an important question because, look, I'm going to be completely transparent. For me, dogs and books sometimes are way better than humans, right? Like interacting with dogs will always love you because even your kids will give you some friction. Let's be honest, right? We've given our parents friction, that's humanity for you. And then books are like easy because they just teach you stuff and they're gentle with you, right? So humans are hard. So let's just acknowledge that humans are hard because we're all coming with our different life experiences, struggles, and things. And so one of the things we desire deeply is control. And when we can't control something, we avoid it. So, in the case of leading a team or enrolling other people into your idea and going with you, my answer is like, if you are worried about being disappointed, you're right to be concerned about it because people will disappoint you. I mean, I don't think anybody listening has ever not been disappointed in some way by someone, right? And so, if that's a truth about humanity, then the next question is, if you really think about anything that has been successful in your life, there was usually at least one other person involved. Okay, someone. It could have been a therapist, it could have been a best friend. Those people are actually still unicorns in your life. This is how I want you to think about unicorn team. I want you to think about that any idea, and that's what this book really is about, is that any idea you have for your life requires, number one, you not excluding yourself from the unicorn team. You're actually part of the unicorn team. What's taught out there right now is like it's you, and then there's all these people around you. And actually, my book is about you're a critical part of the unicorn team succeeding. And a lot of times we put visionaries on a pedestal and we think that they are self made, and they are not self made. What they did, whether it was pleasant or cruel or anywhere in between, right, is they were willing to move through the hard parts. And the hardest part is the human interaction. Like we struggle with that. And so I want you to think of yourself first as a unicorn, that you don't want to be either a donkey or what I call a jackass anymore. There's kind of three tiers of humans. I feel like there's jackasses, donkeys, and unicorns. Okay. And jackasses are the people we don't want to tolerate, right? But we tolerate sometimes because maybe they're a part of our family or whatever. Donkeys are actually not bad. I always tell people like donkeys are just beasts of burden. And we treat ourselves like donkeys a lot. That's the decision that you mentioned, Neeta, where you were like, why do we sometimes go, it'd be faster if I did it myself? It'd be easier if I did it myself. That's donkey thinking. And donkeys are great. We need donkeys. Donkeys move stuff across canyons. They're beasts of burden. They carry a workload and they're very important animals, if you will, in the farm. But if you want to elevate beyond a donkey, actually, there's one more category. There's the workhorse above the donkey. And the workhorse is usually the thoroughbred. Ooh, look how sexy she is. She's winning every race. He's the one we should bet on, right? I'm asking everybody to think more like a unicorn, which looks like this: the understanding that I'm embodying the true leadership energy that is required to move through and win the race with other unicorns, right? And I feel like a lot of times when we think it's harder to work with other humans, again, you're right. What really, it's harder to work with donkeys and jackasses is how I want you to reframe that. Okay. If you're working with workhorses or unicorns, and I like workhorses too, because at least workhorses, there's effort there. There's like, they're thinking, they're kind of like moving through like thinking. Nothing wrong with being a workhorse. But if you only think of work and team as just like even if you're working with an overseas team, if you're working with like you have a Filipino VA and they're harder to work with because you think, oh, they don't understand the words coming out of my mouth. Of course they don't. Their role is to be a workhorse for you. Their role is to get direction from you. And that's the leadership energy you got to work on, right? Because creating content even on YouTube takes effort. Am I right? This is why I'm like, oh my gosh, like the amount of work that goes into producing a YouTube show or a podcast like this.
It's a lot.
People don't realize it. It looks fancy. Like Neeta and I are heard yapping it up, talking story, sharing some knowledge, but everything else that it took to show up here, including our own energy. Like, let's just be transparent. Neeta's feeling a little under the weather today, but she's
Totally.
showing up and she could choose not to or to, but she's, if without knowing that there's other people behind the scenes helping, like whether it's the nanny with the kids, whether it's her podcast team producing this show, she's showing up as a leader because she knows this is the work, right? And so if you're scared, and even when people, I don't want to build a big team, Jen, your book is about building a team. I don't want to build a big team. This is not about building a big team. If you want to, it's a playbook for that. If you want to just have a simple business and you want to have one or two people that really support you, even if they're part-time or fractional, it's for you. If you're looking for another husband, like I was 10 years ago, it's for you. Meaning this new one,
Same 10 years ago.
girl, right? It was like,
Let's
okay,
go.
I'm ready for companionship. Guess what? What do a lot of successful people say? That the most important decision they ever make is who they marry. Guess what? Your family is a unicorn team for you, right? Are you marrying donkeys? I married a donkey. In fact, I married a jackass in my past life. Neeta has her book. If y'all read it, you know she talks about her own, right? Yet we were successful women, right? She was an accomplished cosmetic dentist. I was a corporate executive, bringing some of the biggest ideas to market, including Netflix. Like streaming video was my last big project, bringing to market as a corporate marketing executive. But it didn't mean that there wasn't a lot of friction, pressure, and noise that we were facing at work, because she had her own dentist practice. I had my own huge product marketing team. And then at home, I was dealing with my unicorn team at home felt broken. Like it didn't feel like, so when we talk about like if you have trauma from a work relationship and that's why you're worried about bringing more people onto your team, think about the same trauma, same true picking a spouse, choosing to have children. It's all the same.
And you know what? I want to go into that a little bit because I think you're so right about, when we're picking our work spouses and even our love spouses, and you talk about bringing this unicorn energy. But And I love the concept in the book, the unicorn energy. But if we are still dealing and grappling with, oh my gosh, what if I date another one of those jackasses again? Or, I won't, like, can I actually meet another unicorn? But as a unicorn, do I need another unicorn? So how do we, how are we, how should we think about this? And how do you structure this in the book?
Oh my God, I love that question. So that's, and I use a lot of models to explain how to make these,
You're so good at that,
thank
Jen.
you,
Thank you.
these strategic decisions, because they actually are strategic decisions. And we live in a world, I think, where vision again is put on a pedestal, vision, and execution is seen as, yes, you must do it. And those are both true statements. But the thing that actually is the difference between the 97% of people who are succeeding, at least social, from what we see, and the 3% who are, is strategy. And so when you use a model to help make these strategic decisions, how to support your vision, and also how to make the right moves and work on the right hard things when you're executing or mobilizing what has to happen going forward, the answer is strategy. And strategy has gotten a really bad rap, especially in the online space in the past decade. And that really pisses me off. And the reason it pisses me off is because it's actually what's being kept from people on purpose.
Yeah.
And so this book, inside of it, there's a model called the unicorn innovation model. And why I call it that is because any new idea you have for your life or your business is something you're innovating. You're reimagining something. Like, even so, I'm like, if you want to move and work remotely, run it through the model in the book. The idea of like, ooh, do I want to live remotely? Do I want to move my company or my family overseas? Or, do I want to? I have a new idea. I want to create this new position because I think I need more support. Like, or I want to create a podcast. Let's say,
Mm,
who are the people I'm going to need? And the unicorn innovation model, there's an actual piece of it where you take the idea and you put it in the front, and you first have to, what I call, navigate the idea. And to navigate the idea, you have 3 steps. You got to visionize, strategize, and mobilize that idea. So in the book and in the model, there are these questions and frameworks that help you go, okay, this is an idea I have. I really want to run it through the model
yeah.
to test, is this something I actually want to do? Because let's face it, we are creative creatures who have pardon my language, shit ton of ideas, right?
Right. We have thousands of ideas.
Thousands. I have 1,000 running in my brain right now. Yeah.
Especially like heading into the new year. It's like all systems are a go and we want to, what I'm hearing is that, this innovation model is going to help us, run our ideas through a filter that you
Yes.
have, which you are the queen at. And I think that, there's so much pressure, especially at the beginning of the year, because of social media, because of our peers, because of social contagion, that we want to execute all of them, and all of them have to be done all at the same time, or we're failures and we're never going to be anything in our lives. So, can we talk about that?
Oh, yes. And, or the opposite is true, where we are so burnt out, overwhelmed because of that.
Yeah.
We opt out completely. And I feel so strongly that that's such a crime when there are so many people who we need to hear from. We like need your best ideas. Like right now, more than ever, we need to cut out all the noise. We need to be less precious or attached to ideas that are not ours to take forward, right? And we then have to get behind the ideas that really will help us feel purposeful while we're here. And this model helps you do that. And that's that navigate part of the model. Like, oh, quote, so when you bring it in and you do the visionized treatment on it, the strategized treatment on it, and the mobilized treatment on it, that filter that you speak of, on the other side of it, you're going to go, okay, this idea is worth pursuing. This idea is worth doing. Or this idea, we should put it on the shelf. Or this idea should be someone else's. And in fact, I know the perfect person to take this idea forward. In fact, Neeta is so good at that. She's like, if it's not for her, she's like, I know the person who should take this forward. I'm going to just give it to them. Right. But when we can quickly sort and feel this level of confidence, and when I say confidence, not boastful, big confidence, just this clear and clean energy around, oh, this idea is mine, this idea is not mine. The kind of freedom you feel after doing that. So even if it's just you use this book or this model to do that, the level of freedom and weight, like you stop becoming a donkey because you're going to take all that donkey baggage off and go, okay, I know I'm free to fly because of it.
And this is huge because you have, you've taught me and you've taught so many of our students as well the the visionizer, strategizer, mobilizer, and I know you also have the leadership types. I first want to break down, like, how do we know if one of us is a visionary or a visionizer and a strategizer and a mobilizer? What's the difference of those three? And then let's get into the leadership types.
Yeah, well, actually, so that's the second track. So now we're moving into the model. Perfect timing. See, I told you Neeta is such a great interviewer. So next piece is there's navigate. Now the next track is motivate. And what I mean by motivate, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where first we got to go, where am I self motivated? Where do I capture energy even when times are tough? That whole like, that sucks. Now what moment, right? How do I then dig in and find self motivation even when stuff is hard? Okay, so first, motivate's about self motivate. Then it's how do then I motivate others and also show them how to self motivate themselves so that we can take this idea that we just put through the navigate track and really come together to bring it forward. And so, visionizer energy is this energy of the future. It's the future you. It's the idea that you have for your life, that if you were to write yourself a love letter in the future, you would have said, or the obituary, if you will, that says, this is how Jen or Neeta live their lives. That's that visionizer energy. Then there's the strategizer energy, which is actually what I call the present you, the you that is understanding all of the gaps, voids, and opportunities that are available. And a strategizer energy is someone who can see those very clearly and map out how to get from A to B by playing what I call chess. They are chess players, they understand. And a great strategizer example is when you think about like a big star, like J-Lo, right? J-Lo is amazing and she is a workhorse and a unicorn. But her main strategizer is this guy named Benny Medina. If you don't know who Benny Medina is, you can Google him. So for every Jenny, there's a Benny. Okay. And Benny is a top strategizer. Kris Jenner is a top strategizer for her kids. Like her vision was, I want my children to feel extremely successful, whatever they want. And her gift is strategizer. I will have the conversations with the right people and make those chess moves so that my kids have it all. Okay. So that strategizer energy is the person that can see the future and understand the present and how to get there. And then the mobilizer energy are the people who truly delight and are motivated by accomplishing and closing things daily. These are the
Mm.
executors, these are the doers, and that they actually love it. It motivates them, it energizes them. uh, I talk about in the book, like Martha Stewart. You know, a lot of people would think of her as like a V, a high V vision person, and she is, but she's actually higher in M energy, I call it, because think about how she made her millions, billions, and her personal brand. It was by demonstrating how to cook, how to make a beautiful home, how to garden, right? She revels in the physical things. And in society's world, 97% of people, the quote unquote not as successful as other people category,
Mm. Mm.
we think that the V energy is the only energy required to be successful. And my model is about how do you actually get the V, the S, and the M energy? These are three important energies,
That trifecta.
that trifecta. Then you can better decide who to hire, who to contract, who to bring on as an advisor, who to partner with, right? And so in the motivate track of my model, that's what this is. It's identifying what are your top strengths, energetic strengths. And then that'll help you decide who to hire. And then it'll also help you know yourself in a way that goes, oh, so for example, I am a strategizing visionizer. I'm an SV. Okay, now we're getting into the 9 leadership types that I talk about in the book.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. Let's go.
so there's 9, and they are basically, there's the 3 S's, the 3 V's, the 3 S's, and the 3 M's. And you are typically, after all my research, this is not, I didn't just make up this assessment. This is me after 25 years of doing this work. And when people have asked me, Jen, how do you get things to market so quickly and so successfully? It was me looking back at my corporate career and then my entrepreneurial career and going, oh my gosh, when people come to me and they say, I want to reimagine my brand. I want to I want to innovate a new product. And I would go, the first question I would ask is, tell me more about your team and also tell me more about what motivates you. And they would go, oh, no. I don't need a team. I need advice. I need you to tell me exactly how to become the most successful, popular, profitable person. And I said, before we do that, before we even work on your messaging, or we work on your marketing, or we work on your product packaging, or anything that you're doing, I want to know who's in your life. Because if you want to get past that point that you imagine your V sees, you actually do need other people. We need to pick the right ones, or you're going to fuck up everything. You're going to get burnt out. You're going to give up. You're going to get tired. And people never, in fact, today, people are like, I didn't know your book is about brand. I'm like, brand is the people that you surround yourself with, because the people are what make the ideas happen. And so, yeah. So, anyway, these leadership types is how you get into it.
Yeah, no, and before we fully dive into the leadership types, I really want to have my audience really know kind of the full like where you started. Like let's go back because there was a time where you weren't, the strategist visionary queen and you had to go through some hoops in order to get to where you are at today. And yeah, I would love to share just a little bit or as much as you kind of the full circle to bring you to this moment
Uh,
because I think that it's been such a powerful journey for you,
oh my gosh. It's such a long, winding yarn.
which is inspiring for so
Yeah.
many people.
Well, and I don't want anybody to ever think that just because of what I'm, let's say, good at, like what I've accomplished, that it took friction and challenge to get here. And that's so true of all of us. And so I still encounter tons of friction. I just use these models to help me move through them a little bit quicker than they have. It's not about perfection. It's about, am I using the tools? Am I self-aware? And so, my story is, interesting because I never aspired to be an entrepreneur. I never had a vision for my life to be an entrepreneur. In fact, when I grew up, I'm Filipino. I grew up in a full-on hella Filipino household. Both of my parents, my grandparents immigrated from the Philippines to Hawaii and were sugar plantation workers, making 27 cents an hour working in the fields. So I don't come from money in any way, shape, or form. But what I do come from is this family unit of like, if you work hard, you'll get anything, you'll live a good life. And also family is everything. And because I grew up in this plantation mindset, if you will, the neighbors, we all came together. People always broke bread, shared bread. In fact, from where I'm from this tiny little rural sugar plantation town in Hawaii, where as a young girl, I lived this duality of, on one hand, loving that I was in a family where family was everything. So I'm really grateful for those roots. And on the other hand, I felt like a total alien. Like I was like, why did God and the universe drop me off here? Because I was that girl who really was fascinated with how things worked. And I was like, I lived in my little rural library. We had like, I think probably not more than 500 books in this tiny little library. And I read every dang book like in the library. I was like, including The Joy of Sex, which I found when I was in third grade. I could
Yes.
not believe it, girl. When I found that book and I opened it, my eyes got this big and I was like, oh my God, this is how babies are made. And I promptly went to my little Catholic elementary school where there was only like all the nuns were Dominican Filipino nuns. Okay.
No way.
And in third grade, I told my entire classroom at
Oh
recess
my God.
how babies were made. That was me. Now you get like a glimpse into like who Jen Kem was as a little girl. And I didn't think that was like trouble. I thought that was like the truth. I was wait, this is the truth. So why shouldn't we know the truth? And I started to go, why am I getting in trouble for telling the truth? You know? And I realized at a very early age, like when you were telling the truth, how society, I didn't know this, but looking back, I can go, oh, whether it was being a Catholic or being a Filipino or living in a tiny rural town where most people's careers were in hard labor, right? That me bringing new ideas, innovative questions, things that, you know, like did not sound like status quo questions as a young person. That's who I was. And so because of that, I was heavily bullied. I had no friends. I felt like the loneliest person in the world. The only place I felt safe was truly at home. And even there, I remember my grandma used to say to me, anak, which means child in Filipino. She'd say, anak, what you need to understand is that the things you're coming out of your mouth, people don't get it. And they're never going to get it. And so you have to decide whether or not that's okay with you. And I remember her sitting on her scratchy 70s blue and green shag couch every morning.
Yes.
My grandma would have Lipton hot tea and peanut butter toast. And she would be reading the paper and she would give me the business section. And this is me like in third, fourth grade because she knew I loved to read. And she knew I was super lonely. I didn't have any friends. And she said, Anak, I don't know why, but I feel like I don't understand any of the words that are in this paper because she had a fourth grade education, you know. And she said, but I think you're going to enjoy it. And I remember reading about all these like people who were bringing cool things into the world, specifically Coca-Cola, who, and still is actually the brand that has the highest brand equity in the world still. Like a lot of people think of Apple and all that, but the reason is because you can get Coca-Cola to Timbuktu, but they still can't get Wi-Fi there. So Coca-Cola as a brand has always been, you know, something big. And for me as a young girl, I was like, that's what I want. I want to work for Coca-Cola one day. Just because I read in the newspaper that Coca-Cola was this international brand, this global brand. And all I could think about is I want to help people and I want to travel and I don't want to be stuck in this tiny town and I want people to like me and I want to have friends and I want to like all these things. And so let's just fast forward. Let's just put it this way, like fast forward, I thought, okay, I'm going to be the general counsel for Coca-Cola International. So I thought I was going to be a lawyer and I
Yes, queen.
pursued becoming a lawyer in college. And uh, what ended up happening was I ended up, getting into a relationship with my ex-husband.
Mm.
And, thinking, okay, I'm going to get married, I'm going to have kids, because I knew I wanted to have kids. I knew I wanted to have a family, and I wanted to be ambitious. I wanted it all. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to be like Britney Spears. And, at 22, graduated from college and got married and got pregnant. And that changed the trajectory of my pursuit of working for Coca-Cola. Now, and I was in a marriage that, honestly, if I were being really, really honest, part of the reason I got married, and I have physical proof, and I always show it sometimes, like if you can see real close. You see this pinky, how it's broken?
Yes, I see
Okay.
it.
So every day I live with a physical sign of, I actually married my ex-husband because I was running away from my college boyfriend who was physically abusing me.
Mm.
And I didn't understand, because at the age between 19 and 22, you're actually still not fully developed, even though you're smart, even if you're like, all the things that you learn. And I was in a relationship that was so cruel. It was like I had moved from bullies to growing up to bullies in my personal relationship. I like attracted bullies because I so badly just wanted to be loved. And I associated love in relationships by people being abusive towards me, physically and mentally and physically. And so when people like look at me and they're like, "Oh, you got it all together. You're so confident." I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 no. I'm a functional hot mess, and I've made some really bad decisions." Um, you know, but that
I
doesn't
I never knew that. I never knew
Yeah.
that about your wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's the real story, is really like I jumped into the arms of somebody I felt was safer
Mm.
because I was
But it wasn't
but it
yeah, but it
wasn't.
wasn't true love.
It wasn't true. Now, I don't wanna say anything, that my ex-husband was not a physical abuser, but he definitely was not the unicorn for me. I married a donkey because I was dating a jackass. I wasn't even elevating. You understand when I talk about donkey, jackass, and then I was the workhorse. I was the like, I can make anything, I can fix anything, because I grew up in a family where the women were strong and they did do those things, to the point of not just exhaustion, but getting cancer and dying because of what we tolerated. Like we've talked
It's
about
a
this.
it's a Filipino plague. I
Y'all,
feel like it's the matriarchy.
it is. It is. So
It's
that's really the
it's
story.
wild.
That's really the story.
Wow.
And so, and I had 2 kids because I thought that would fix things. And I love my children dearly, and they are Gen Z. They are Gen Z. They're young adults now, you know. Um, but they had to grow up with a mother who, on one hand, again, the duality of life is so fascinating, right? On one hand, was this quickly ascending corporate executive type. I didn't become a lawyer, but I did become a marketing person. I went to school in Silicon Valley, so it was just like a natural place for me to find my first job, which was with Ogilvy, which is the top advertising agency in the world. And then I realized I really wanted to expand my career into go to market and product go to market, because I love being behind the creative, bringing it to market, but I wanted to see actually how the true sausage was made. And so
Was
then,
that more strategy
yeah,
from
yeah,
the so strategy then vision? So
yeah,
strategy vision. Okay.
exactly. And so then here I was again, this person. And then I was like, had 2 young girls in a marriage that definitely was not suited for me, but I was tolerating because I was like, you know, and, by the time I was 32, I had brought some of the biggest ideas to market, including, like I said, video streaming was my last project. And I got passed over for a promotion that I was promised. And I had spent so much time at work. And I realized that the reason that I got passed up, even though I was the best unicorn in the stables, that I was still a solo unicorn. I was a lone ranger unicorn. And the guy that got promoted over me, who didn't work as hard, he spent his time playing golf with our boss. And well, of course, I was mad at first, like, oh, wow, this isn't fair. This isn't okay that I got passed over. Is I realized, no, 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 no. He's got a good strategy and I'm not playing it right. And that being a workhorse is not the highest rung. The highest rung is actually being a unicorn and seeing he was really smart at strategically, who do I surround myself with? And I was like, what if I had both? Because he doesn't have what I have. He didn't have
Mm.
the strategic power that I had naturally, but he had the relationship power that I did not understand that I needed. And so that's the piece. And I got passed up for a career. I got passed up, and I realized at that point that either I have to quit or I have to tolerate this. And that was I, that was when I was 32. And so I left the corporate world and I started my own company, and kind of the rest is history. But yeah,
And you've worked with some huge brands,
yeah,
Harvey
yeah. Steve
and
Harvey,
Oprah,
Oprah.
and so people are listening to this or they're watching this on YouTube and they're like, "Okay, I think I might be visionary. I think I might be a little bit of strategy. I think I might be like my Martha Stewart with the mobilizer."
Yeah.
How do we know which one is
Well,
which?
the
And I
good
know
news
you go
is
through all of it in the book.
I do. I do. In the book, I think when you read the book, and you read each category, you're going to go, oh, I really see myself like that. So that's the first thing. But there actually is an assessment, which I'm really excited for everyone to take. It's called the ULTA, ULTA, the Unicorn Leadership Type Assessment. So it's the ultimate way that you can figure out what
I love it.
truly,
Ultimate.
yes,
Yes.
like truly motivates you from the inside so that your ideas can be supported by the gaps. Because here's the thing, you only should hire a team of any sort if you have a gap there. Why would you hire otherwise, right? Or why would you contract otherwise? And this is, again, not about W-2s versus 1099s. This is about who do you need for your idea to come to life, because your idea is that important to come to life. And so how do you know? Well, first of all, there's the assessment. So take the assessment. We'll link it below.
And this is for even, mamas, new mamas,
Oh, for sure.
working women who are just trying to, go and do their passions, but we can't be that lone ranger unicorn by yourself.
Well, I mean, for me, when my last year of corporate work, I was side hustling big time. I knew I wanted to leave, but I didn't leave right away. I'm not that sexy. Like, I said F it and I fell off a cliff, because I had two young girls to think of and I had a very expensive life. Let's put it that way. Like, I was a corporate executive by that point, right? And I tell people I had no reason to leave. I was making $400,000 a year. I had a corner office with a disco ball in it. I had a team that the company paid for me to manage. And I had a parking spot with my name on it. And so I had all these trophies and triumphs that people saw. But inside, I was like, I can't stay here because I will never truly be me if I stay here. And so if you are like in a thing and a new idea could be, I want to leave my current job, or I want to create a new side hustle business while I am momming, right?
Mhm.
No matter what, that's a new idea for your life. So the question really is after you navigate the idea, as we talked about earlier, now it's like, who am I first? So for me, I was mentioning I'm a strategizing visionizer. I'm an SV. And the M part of me is what I call my linked motivation. So there's your primary motivation, your secondary motivation, and your linked motivation. So your primary is the one that you are ultra motivated by. It's not even just that you're skilled at it, that you are actually energetically motivated. And I am energetically high S. Always have, as I told you in my story about little Jen Kem. I was this person who loved understanding how the world ticked and worked. And that's a strategy person. A strategy person thinks about how things work and wants to unpack and then put it back together. Like, that's how high S's think. That's how they are. Always been that person. That's why this book is about energy, not skill. Because it's really about, if you understand where your energy is, any skill will feel easy for you. Okay. So then the V in me is my secondary, where again, it's like I can see the future. One thing that people say about me is I can smell the money. The
Mhm.
reason Jen Kem
Sure
can smell
can.
the money is because I'm in SV, because I can see the future and I see the pathway to get there. And I know the shortcuts only because I'm naturally inclined to be like this. And then the M in me is my linked motivation. And that's why people are like, you get things done so quickly. So you must be an M. And I'm like, actually, the reason I get things done so quickly is because I know now who I am and I enroll people who are better M's than me and understand that I need that. So this is the flip side of it. I want people to, this is the game changer for a lot of you. Some of you are high M's and you think you have to be a high V to be successful. And I'm like, actually, V's are the hottest mess of all the three energies. Okay. Because V's are infinitely full of ideas, infinitely like excited about everything. Right. And we know just based on psychology that that's just dopamine. Okay. V's are high dopamine energy, which is great, gets you excited, but it peters out very quickly if you don't have this sustainable fuel source behind it. So this is why a Martha Stewart, who is a M primary, is so
Mm.
successful because she is in her highest energetic contribution. That's what I talk about. Like if you told Martha Stewart, you should be more V, you should be
Mm-hmm.
more V, you should be more V, she'd be like, no. If you watch her documentary on Netflix, she'd be like, the reason I'm so successful is because I love doing things. I love demonstrating things. I love showing people exactly how did I make this recipe? How did I make it so beautiful on the table? She's showing you how the sausage is made and she's making the sausage. So I call her an MV. I think she's an MV. And you might think, okay, she's a strategist, she has high S. I actually don't think so. I think that she's so good at M that strategists saw her and said, we're going to make you into a star. Because strategists
Ah,
make
yeah.
people into stars.
Mm-hmm.
Strategists are the ones that don't mind being what society calls, let's say, number two. Like in my role for people, I'm usually that person for them. I am that Chris Jenner. I am that Benny Medina.
You
I
blow
am
them up.
right. And we
Mm-hmm.
all think, okay, if I want to be famous, if I want to like make a huge impact in my life, you have to be V. And that's why I'm like, V's are not just it. That's why my book, what's different about it,
Yeah.
is that I'm saying all three energies matter. And now, if you understand that and you know what your primary and secondary and you know what your linked are, now you can go in and enroll the right people into your ideas. And it's a game changer.
This is brilliant. I feel like I know so many of us are thinking, okay, I know I do this. And I know I'm even going through all of my team members that I have right now. And I'm like, yeah, okay, she's definitely a mobilizer. Huh? I've got a few of those mobilizers. And so, okay, you talk about, I know that we don't have much time left, but I know you talk about this term in your book that I love because from the very first question that I asked you about, Gen Z and a lot of people, not wanting to hire them or firing them currently, what is fancy lazy?
Yes, that is my whole lifestyle. I'll say that. Like, I started to realize like people again see me as like, oh, you've got it all together. And actually, as I said earlier, I'm a functional hot mess, just like anybody else. Truly. And fancy lazy to me means that I want to have what I want to have, right? And that doesn't necessarily just mean, let's say, name brand handbags or anything. But I do like brands because I'm a brand person. So I love brands. But what fancy lazy means to me is like I want to live my fanciest life being the least putting in the least effort. And so I'm willing to
Is it
do
possible?
yes, because I say what I do is I work on the right hard things. And I think the problem with today's society is we work on a lot of wrong things, thinking we should get credit for effort. And that's that old plantation style. You work hard, you get what you want. Now, notice though, I didn't say effort wasn't required. In fact, effort is absolutely required, but it's choosing the right effort that matters. And so fancy lazy is a lifestyle of me like I'll look at a thing, like even releasing a book, and Neeta has released many books. She's written many books. Bringing this idea into the world, this is an idea that I had, and I wanted to bring it into the world, requires a ton of effort. And every time, including yesterday, when my brain was playing tons of mind tricks and mind trash on me around this book, and like, nobody's going to care about this book. This book, like, nobody's going to read it. Like, all these thoughts are
All the crazy
absolutely
things.
permeating me. And so it's like, but it's because I know I'm an SV, and because I've assembled the best possible unicorn team around this book, I at least have a level of confidence that helps me get out of that mind trash. And that's what I mean by being fancy lazy. Like, I am efforting, but I am efforting on what is real, not efforting on what the stories I'm making up about the effort. And I'm definitely not working on shit that doesn't matter. Like, and I feel like all of us are headed, we're all going the same way, same direction. The meat sack that's holding our soul is decaying every second, right? That's just the truth. And so while this meat sack is holding this soul, I keep asking myself, what is my unique contribution here? And a lot of books, even about team or productivity, talk about managing your time better. Fancy lazy is not about time. Fancy lazy is about energy. Because I'm like, even if you create more time, if you don't have the energy inside of that time, you won't do anything anyway. You're going to be flat on the ground, exhausted, overwhelmed. Creating capacity and space for me doesn't mean shit unless I have the energy to use that capacity in a way that actually will get me to my goals. And so I think a lot of people, I'm all for time productivity. Atomic Habits is one of the greatest books, selling books of all time. But I think that what's missing is the energy part. And when I talk about energy, I'm not just talking about the woo energy. I believe in all the things. So just, I believe in all of it. But if I were just being practical about energy, right? You can't get things done without energy. And this book solves that. And that's how I live my fancy lazy life is I use my energy towards things that matter. I use my energy towards relationships that matter. And I wasn't always like that. That's my point. And I'm not perfect now. I'm just saying that because of the tools that are in this book, I do better. I'm doing a little bit better than I would without the tools. And that makes a big difference.
And this is huge for our audience too, because, Brave Table Fam, we constantly talk about how do we be more efficient and present for our families and our goals and our ambitions. But we want to do it where we've got the utmost capacity and the utmost energy. And I'm so glad you have this beautiful concept in the book, because of course we also want to be fancy about it. Hello.
Yeah, we want our fancy
Um,
lives. Yes.
let's go. And so, all right, what is the message that you want to leave anybody that gets, unicorn team? And again, this is not for anyone that's just trying to build a business, but any idea that you're putting forth in 2025.
Yeah. I want to say that more than ever, we need your ideas. Just because the world looks like now the noise of the triple A threat, I call it. Have you heard me talk about the triple A threat, Neeta? Like, there's a triple A threat:
Talk about it.
AI,
Yeah.
automation, and
Yes.
Asians. Okay. So, like, those
That's
three
right.
things,
I have heard you talk about it.
yes, you cannot fight those forces. They are here and they are here to stay, right?
Oh my gosh.
So, the takeaway I want you to hear is that even if you are Asian too, is that we need you. Like, humanity, if we want to reimagine how we live and work and play and interact with each other, we have to be willing to be the innovators that this world needs next,
Mm.
right? And in order to do that, we need to see ourselves like that. And we need to see ourselves as somebody who is really good and capable of rallying other people around us. In fact, I think Neeta is one of those people that I think she's so good at rallying people around her ideas, right? And it feels pretty natural. It's because Neeta is living a fancy, lazy life too. She may not have, like it's kind of like, oh, she realized that when I can enroll and rally other people, I then can make my greatest contribution. And that's what this book is about. Like, how do you become the person that people want to rally around? We need you to be that person, because in order for the next big ideas that actually change the world for the better, instead of AI and automation becoming the standard and status quo, we need you to do that. So that's really what this book is truly about. On the surface, it's a business book that helps you get your ideas to market and makes them happen sooner, quicker, faster. But what it's really about is actually going, how can you be the innovator of your own life and of the world in a way that supports what we need next? So,
Oh, especially if you're not Asian.
because we got the built-in workhorse DNA in us. Like, that's the problem.
We
That's the problem
do.
and the
I don't know
opportunity.
if you've seen Hassan Minhaj's newest Netflix
Yeah, it's so
comedy
good.
special.
It's so
And he's
good.
like, the Indians are up here, followed by, the Filipinos and then he goes down and they're all Asian.
What does he call it? The brown
Beijestan.
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 I was like, that's it right there. Yes. So if you're feeling alone or
Hysterical.
not understanding don't build something just because you're building something. Build something with intentionality and build with other people, because that's what
Yeah,
we
and
need.
I mean, amen that you're talking about this, because I feel like not, this is the message going into 2025,
Yes.
is that we find those people and those humans, and they may just be your unicorn team. And so, all right, I'm going to link. Where can we get the book? Do we have a special link? Do we have I know you're giving away all sorts of goodies, so tell us all of the things.
Well, you can go to unicornteambook.com, and that's obviously the direct link. You can buy the book anywhere, obviously on Amazon. You can buy the audiobook on Audible, all the things. But if you want some special, juicy gifts and bonuses, go to unicornteambook.com. You can find me on all the socials. And, also that link to the Unicorn Leadership Type Assessment, or the ULTA, is also going to be on that page.
Perfect. Before I let you go, we have our spill the chai section.
Let's do it.
So it's going to be rapid questions. All right. Okay. What's your guilty pleasure on TV right now?
Oh, so many. I would say anything by Taylor Sheridan. So I'm like kind of obsessed. So he does Yellowstone, but Landman is like my favorite thing right now. And also Batman, The Penguin is the best show on Max right now.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that.
So
Really?
good.
Penguin? All
Oh,
right.
like
Okay.
Colin Farrell is just like blow your mind. So good. It's dark, but it's good.
Okay, it's dark. All right. Well, be prepared. Morning person or night owl?
Oh, night owl, 100%. I am not a morning person.
Okay, since we talked about Europe, favorite place in Europe?
Oh, number one, far beyond Florence. Because of the
Oh.
art and the food.
Okay.
And then obviously, like, it's in Tuscany, so just the whole Tuscan region. So I love that it's got both. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and you did have one of those retreats there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last question. Your go-to coffee or
Oh,
tea
I got
order?
you. I got you on this. So coffee. It's called
Yeah.
Brainstorm, and you can get it on
Okay.
Amazon. And it's low acid coffee that is delicious. And I'm a coffee snob,
Mm,
and it's because it's low acid. You don't have the things that give you problems on coffee. And then on the tea side, there is this amazing rose tea that you can buy at Magic Teas, I think it
okay.
is. Anyway, it's
Okay.
amazing. If you Google it, you'll find it.
Rose tea.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
Jen Kem, thank you for bringing your brilliance. I'm so excited. This has been a long time coming for your book. I'm so glad it's here. Everyone needs to get this book for your team. Get it for your bestie. And if you are calling in more business ambitions and goals in 2025, even just to organize your life, this is the book. And you want to be able to get it for everyone in your girls group, the moms group, the teachers group, All of it, because I think this is something that we don't talk about enough in getting support. And we all need a unicorn team. I mean, I'm gonna praise my unicorn team when I get home today. Jen Kem, I love you. Where can we follow you on all of the socials and share the wisdom that people are probably going to get from listening to this episode? You guys have to share what your favorite part of the episode was.
Please do. Well, the main places like I like to hang out are on YouTube. I have a channel where I dish a lot of, all the things and more that we just talked about. And then LinkedIn. But on Instagram, I really enjoy you in the DMs. So if you're like you have a question for me, it really is me in the DMs on Instagram. So hit me up there as well.
Sweet. All right. Until next time on the Brave Table. All right, fam. Welcome back to the other side. I am so excited you got to experience one of my dearest besties, soul sisters, somebody I deeply, deeply respect and admire for so many years. She is such a visionary when it comes to talking about all things business and strategy and vision and even getting your team mobilized. And I'm so glad that her long awaited book, Unicorn Team, is out. So if you are curious to start 2025 on a super powerful note, and even if you are listening or watching this much later on, this is the book that will completely change the trajectory of how you think about teams. And if you've been going at it solo, well, this is a book that teaches you how to build a team from the ground up, whether it's your home team, whether it's your friends group team, whether it's the team that you have that is your sidekicks. Maybe some of you actually have this and you don't even know, but this will give you so much more information. You can go and head to unicornteambook.com. That's also where you can take the assessment when you actually get the book for free. Actually, it comes with a book when you purchase the book, as well as so many other goodies. And you can follow Jen Kem at she's actually on LinkedIn at Jennifer Kem on LinkedIn. And I've linked her YouTube channel and her YouTube show in the show notes under Jennifer Kem. And if you love this episode, I would love to know what you loved about this episode today. You can go ahead and drop it in the comments below if you are watching this on YouTube. And if you haven't followed us yet, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and click the subscribe button so you do not miss a beat, as well as if you're listening to this or watching this on Spotify, click the thumbs up button or the like button. It really helps us grow the show more than you know. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, don't forget to be just a little bit more brave, and I will see you next time.